My mother changed her will without telling me. She removed my name entirely and redistributed my share, $280,000, between my two younger siblings. She did this 3 months before she died. I found out at the reading. I sat in that attorney's office for 45 minutes and listened to my entire inheritance be assigned to my brother and sister. And the only explanation I received was a single sentence in the document itself, written in my mother's handwriting in the addendum she had filed. I am making this change because Ellen has the means to care for herself, and her siblings do not. I am Ellen. I do not know when my mother decided that having means was a disqualification for love. I do not know what she thought she was communicating with that sentence. I know what she communicated. This is the story of what I did with it. Hello, new here. Subscribe before we go any further. It helps more than you know. Now let's begin. My mother's name was Patricia. She was a woman of strong opinions, extraordinary cooking, and a fierce protectiveness toward whoever she perceived as the underdog in any given situation. She had grown up poor, genuinely poor, the kind that leaves marks. And it had given her a lifelong orientation toward scarcity, toward anticipating need, toward mobilizing resources in the direction of whoever was struggling most. This is a generous description of her dominant quality. A less generous description would be, she rewarded dysfunction and penalized competence. I am the oldest of 3. My brother Danny is 3 years younger than me. My sister Carla is 6 years younger. Danny has struggled with employment, with money, with a marriage that ended badly. Carla has also struggled, less severely but consistently, with an inability to build stability. I have not struggled in those ways. I have a good career in accounting. I own my home. I have savings. I am not wealthy, but I am stable. My mother saw stability as a resource that could be redistributed. She saw my stability as evidence that I needed less, and my siblings' instability as evidence that they deserved more. The will was the final and most legible expression of a philosophy she had been applying my entire life. I want to be careful here not to relitigate my entire childhood, but I need to give you enough context to understand the will. Danny was my mother's first boy and occupied a particular place in her affections. He was funny and charming and difficult in roughly equal measure, and my mother's response to the difficult parts was consistent. She absorbed them. She paid his rent when he couldn't. She lent him money she did not have. She intervened with his ex-wife. She made excuses to our extended family. Carla was the baby and the most openly emotional of us, which in my family's emotional ecosystem meant she received the most attention. She had anxiety that was real and diagnosed, and which my mother treated as the central organizing fact of Carla's life, structuring significant portions of the family's resources and attention around managing it. I was the reliable one. Good grades, a scholarship, job, a career. My mother was proud of me. In the way you are proud of a machine that runs correctly. A satisfaction in the function rather than a love of the specific thing. I do not say this for sympathy. I say it because it is the condition under which I made every decision I made. And those decisions eventually became the reason I lost my inheritance. My mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when I was 41. She was 69. The prognosis was not good from the beginning. I coordinated her care. I am the one with a flexible schedule, with a car, with organizational ability. I researched oncologists. I set up the appointments. I created a tracking system for her medications. I arranged for a home health aide 3 days a week. I was there when she came out of surgery and when she recovered and when she declined. Danny visited several times. He was emotional in his visits, genuinely devastated about our mother, and somewhat unreliable about specifics. He missed 2 appointments he had agreed to cover because of his own crises. He called frequently and spoke with my mother at length about their relationship, their history, their love for each other. Carla lived an hour away. She was present but overwhelmed. She did what she could. Her anxiety made certain tasks impossible and others difficult. I want to be generous about both of them. They loved our mother. The expression of that love was uneven, but the love itself was real. What I know now that I didn't know then is that during this period, as I was managing her care, my mother was also having long emotional phone calls with both of them. Calls in which I later learned she expressed significant worry about their futures. Calls in which Danny apparently cried about money and Carla apparently cried about feeling unable to cope. I was not having those calls with her. I was having logistics calls. In my family, logistics were invisible. Emotion was currency. 3 months before she died, my mother asked her neighbor, a woman named Frances, who drove her to certain appointments, to take her to see her estate attorney. She did not ask me. She did not tell me. She changed her will in that visit. She removed my name. She redistributed my share equally between Danny and Carla. She added the handwritten addendum. The attorney later told me, when I asked, that my mother had seemed clear and decided, that she had not presented any signs of incapacity, that the change was legally executed. I do not dispute the legality. I dispute the reasoning. The will was read 3 weeks after her death. Danny, Carla, and I sat in the attorney's office. The attorney read the distribution. I heard my name once, in the addendum, and then not again. Danny would receive $140,000. Carla would receive $140,000. I would receive nothing. I did not react visibly. I have thought about why that is, the absence of immediate reaction. And I think it is because some part of me had been expecting something like this. Not this specifically, but something. Danny looked at me once. His expression was complicated, not triumphant, not exactly. Something more like guilt wearing relief as a disguise. Carla cried. I could not tell what the tears were about. I asked the attorney if I could have a copy of the full document. He provided it. I shook hands with everyone and went to my car and sat there for a long time. Then I drove home and made dinner and looked up estate litigation attorneys. I consulted 2 estate attorneys. Both told me the same things. The will was legally sound, the change was properly executed, and my mother had been legally competent at the time of signing. A capacity challenge was unlikely to succeed. What they also told me was this: the addendum, in a philosophical sense, reflected a legitimate testamentary choice. People can leave their estates to whoever they choose for whatever reason. Ellen has the means to care for herself is not an illegal basis for disinheritance. I knew this. I didn't pursue litigation. What I did instead was something smaller and more personal. I called Danny 2 weeks after the reading. I asked if we could talk. He came to my house. I made coffee. We sat at my kitchen table. I told him what I was feeling clearly and without dramatics. I said that I was not angry at him for receiving what my mother had given him. I said I understood he had not orchestrated this. I said I was hurt and I wanted him to understand why. I said I was hurt and I wanted him to understand why. I said, I spent the last 18 months managing her care. I don't regret doing it, but I want you to understand that I did it without knowing that she had decided my doing it was evidence that I didn't need anything from her. Evidence that I didn't need anything from her. I was taking care of her because I loved her, not because I was auditioning for the will. And it turns out the way I expressed love, showing up, organizing, handling things, was visible to her as competence rather than as care. Danny was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I knew she'd been thinking about this. She mentioned it to me once. I asked when. He said about 2 months before she died. I asked if he'd said anything. He said he'd told her it was her choice. I said, it was, and I'm telling you how it felt. Those are both true. He didn't apologize exactly. He said, you deserve better. It was not sufficient. It was also not nothing. Carla and I had a harder conversation a month later. She was defensive in ways Danny wasn't. She said my mother had made the right call, that I was always fine and she and Danny weren't, and that it wasn't fair to begrudge people resources they genuinely needed. I said, I'm not begrudging you the money. I'm telling you that being told you're fine by the person who was supposed to love you unconditionally is something I'm going to need to grieve. Carla said, you're making this about you. I said, it is about me. The way she handled this was about me. I'm not asking you to give the money back. I'm asking you to acknowledge what it felt like. Carla said she couldn't give me what I was looking for. That conversation has not fully recovered. We speak occasionally. The warmth that used to be there is operating at reduced capacity. I spent a year in therapy working through this. Not just the will, that was the visible event, but the entire architecture of how I had been seen in my family. I had been the competent one since childhood, not because I was born more competent, but because competence had been the only consistently rewarded trait available to me. Danny got love through need. Carla got love through emotional expression. I had learned very early that my lane was capability. My mother loved me in the way she loved capable things. She was proud of me. She trusted me. She genuinely believed, I think, that I would be fine. Not as a dismissal, but as a compliment. Ellen will be fine. Ellen always figures it out. She was not entirely wrong. I am fine. I did figure it out. She was not entirely wrong. I am fine. I did figure it out. What she missed, what I think she missed, was that being fine is not the same as not needing. That capability is a quality, not a negation of emotional need. That the person who shows up and handles things is doing something worthy of being seen as an act of love, not as evidence of sufficiency. Worthy of being seen as an act of love, not as evidence of sufficiency. I cannot tell her this. That is the particular cruelty of a loss that comes with unresolved grievance. You are left with things to say and no one to say them to.
It has been 2 years. I did not receive my inheritance.
I am, as my mother noted, capable of caring for myself. My financial situation is unchanged, stable, adequate, mine. Stable, adequate, mine. What has changed is more interior. I am less interested in being the reliable one as a performance. I am more interested in communicating my needs rather than absorbing them. I am in a relationship, a good one, with someone who seems constitutionally interested in what I actually think and feel, which is not something I always sought out before. I have a photograph of my mother on my desk. In it, she is laughing at something outside the frame. She looks genuinely happy. I look at it and I hold both things simultaneously. The love I have for her and the wound she gave me in that last quiet visit to an attorney's office 3 months before she died. I think she thought she was being practical. I think she thought she was directing resources wisely, the way she had always directed resources. I don't think she understood what she was also saying. But I have spent 2 years making sure I understand it. And understanding it, I have decided, does not have to be the end of the story. I am still writing mine. I am still writing mine. Thank you for being here. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video.